Hi guys, Jangro here, and welcome to my Valhelsia Volatile world. And in this episode, we are going to get started with Applied Energistics 2 with what I think is the kind of ultimate quick start with Applied Energistics. If you have been kind of overwhelmed by that mod, then I think this is the episode for you. So stick around. All right, let's take a look around our world first and see what's been happening. I took a week or so off. The kids were on vacation, although we've been in Minecraft a lot. They joined my world, and kids and my wife, and they started a mine colony. So things have been pretty active here. And when the family starts a mine colony, that means I start generating resources because I am the resource guy. You might be that person in your world. I'm going to embrace that, and we're going to start to make some episodes out of this. We've got this abomination right here is a big cobblestone generator, smoker, super smelter, and that's a big mess. I was just built that in a hurry. We're gonna clean that up, and that'll be a topic for a future episode. We've got a train track around here because we're starting in with little logistics. Here's my train, here's a tugboat. So I kind of vowed a video or two ago to stick to the balanced technology, stay away from mechanism. And so we're gonna use little logistics and use that to move things around, kind of make the world smaller. That's what these train tracks are for. Let's turn the train on. It's fun. We're going to do a whole episode on little logistics in the future. So we're going to set up a village that does all the resource generation in their own separate buildings, and it's going to be pretty cool. So we've been spending all this time just mining and exploring, and resources have become an issue, and it's made me want to get into applied energistics. Now, I don't really consider that, or I don't want to consider that high technology, because I just can't live without a storage solution like Applied Energistics 2 or refined storage. Those are kind of the two storage systems. That's the number one reason I play modded Minecraft is from solutions like that. Let's take a look at Applied Energistics and quickly just talk about like the minimal setup for Applied Energistics. And this is it right here. We need some power to power the charger and an inscriber. Here's our crafting terminal and ME drive that's got storage in it. Here's where we're growing crystals. That's it. That's all you need. Now, why do we want applied energistics? There's basically two things that applied energistics does. One is storage and sorting of that storage, and two, it's auto crafting. And we're just going to talk about the storage aspect of applied energistics today. And let's take a quick look at that. So we need power in the system. So we'll drop a couple pieces of coal coke from immersive engineering in this vibration chamber, which is the only power source that you get with applied energistics. Now, I'm really tempted to throw down a passive power generator like a mechanism thermal generator, but we're going to avoid that. We're going to set up maybe a windmill or something from immersive engineering to power this thing. But once this thing has some power in it, we're going to talk about all these things in a little while. But let's just look at the terminal. I mean, you just put stuff in here, and it sorts it automatically. You can sort by number of items, descending, and see what you have the most of. And you can just search, and it's just really amazing. It changes everything. So this is why you need applied energistics or refined storage, which is also in this mod pack currently. So to get started, the first thing you need is some Certus quartz, and you can find that in the world very easily. Any cave you go into, you're going to find it. And let's just go do that quickly. Find some Certus quartz. All we need is a hole in the ground, like this one. I've already mined this one out a little bit, but you can see it over there. That's Certus quartz ore right there and there. Just gonna find some that's reachable. Oh, here's some right here. And usually comes in veins of more than just one, and it's great for getting XP. There's some. Oh, look at that. Here's some Stella Arcanum. Okay, let's break these first. Stella Arcanum is used to make an indestructible enchantment that goes on items. And you want to be as far away from it as possible because it's explosive. And you get a piece of stellarite from that. Stellarite and ex-petrified ore makes a thing called Eternal Stella. And the recipe for that changed recently. It used to just be able to craft that. And now you need some pedestals or something from that mod. We'll cover that mod in another time. So anyway, we've got some Certus quartz dust, and I don't know, maybe we got a crystal from that. Sometimes you get a crystal, but it's as easy as that. And you need to find Certus quartz dust to get started. I think I can get out over here. Okay, we've got our Certus quartz dust, and now what? Next thing we need to do is find these calculation, logic, silicon, and engineering presses. And those are found in meteorites. We also need some Fluix dust, which we can also get from those meteorites. And to find the meteorites, we need a Meteorite Compass. Actually, I never use a compass. I just run around the world and look for meteorites. I run around the world with an expanded mini-map, and they're actually not so hard to find. But if you struggle with that, you can make a compass. Now, a compass requires a charged Certus quartz crystal and some iron. So that brings us to our charger here. And the charger, to get charged Certus quartz crystal, you need Certus quartz crystal, and you drop it in there. So first of all, we need to get this thing powered. Don't I have any more? Be right back. Okay, I'm not sure where that went. I probably put it in a storage system, which I have no access to. If you haven't gathered by now, the vibration chamber is a terrible source of energy. So we're going to need to replace that. But that's for another time. We just need to have this thing active for a little while. So we just right click with Certus quartz and it turns into charged Certus quartz crystal. We put that with 4 iron and we get a Meteorite Compass. Now the Meteorite Compass tells us where there's a meteor, and there is one approximately to the east, a little bit south of that, which we can see on our map. I think that is pointing to this meteorite right here. But again, they're easy to spot on a map. Just run around, keep an eye on your mini map, and you'll find some meteorites. It took me, I think, 3 meteorites to get all 4 presses. There's usually 1, sometimes 2, and you can get lucky. Here's what it's like to find and break into a meteorite with some footage I borrowed from my Valhelsia Enhanced Vanilla series because we had some video issues. We just dig into the middle, find the chest. Hopefully there's a press in there. Grab all the Fluix block from around the chest, and we're on our way. Okay, now we are back from meteorite hunting, and we've got all of our presses, and we've got Fluix block, which are, as you saw, in those meteorites. And now once we have just 1 bit of Fluix and a bit of Certus quartz, we can make our own. We don't ever have to go hunting for them again unless we've happened to use them all up. You do that with seeds, and well, we should be using our terminal here. And so we've got a Certus quartz seed and a Fluix seed. And the Certus quartz seed is made with 1 Certus quartz dust and sand. So if we just make a couple of seeds here, and similarly with Fluix. And we just throw those in water. Just throw those against the wall. 1, 2, 1, 2. And those will sit in there for about 20 minutes in real life time. And they'll grow, and when they're done, they'll be the actual crystals. The reason we can do this is we can double Certus quartz by putting a crystal in an inscriber. So we put a crystal in the inscriber and we get 1 Certus quartz dust. 1 Certus quartz dust with 2 sand makes 2 Certus quartz crystals. And it's the same thing with Fluix dust. Put a Fluix crystal inside the inscriber, and we can see that here with the inscriber. If we put a Certus quartz crystal in here, we'll get a Certus quartz dust. And with that, we can make 2 crystals. So we can keep doubling our crystals just like that. Now to speed up this process, we've got the crystal growth accelerator, which is made with a Fluix block. So we're going to want to use one of these Fluix blocks, at least one of these for this purpose, and some Fluix glass cable and some quartz glass. And these start to get a little bit more expensive. The cable needs a couple of crystals and this quartz fiber, which needs some quartz dust and glass. Also, this quartz glass needs glass and some Certus quartz dust. So we're going to want to get, a good amount of Certus quartz dust initially so we can make all these things. Now, I've got this turned off right now because we're running on coal here and it's getting used up quickly. But this right here is a toggle bus, which stops this connection unless it's powered. So now this is powered. And now you can see sparks around this growth accelerator, and that's going to make these crystals grow much faster. And in fact, we can surround this thing with up to 6 technically, but then we can't really get the seeds in the water. So if we surround that with 5 of these, they grow almost instantly. Did you see that? They just get bigger. So they're on their way. We'll come back to that. Let's take a look at the inscriber, because in order to make these next things like a crafting terminal, we're going to need some things that are made with processors. So if we look at the crafting terminal, see, we need a calculation processor. We also need an ME terminal, which needs a logic processor and a formation core and an annihilation core, which needs processors. So we're going to need to make a good amount of these processors in order to continue. That's done with these presses in the inscriber. So if we look at an calculation processor, that's made with a calculation circuit and printed silicon in the inscriber with redstone. This printed silicon is made with a silicon press and silicon in the inscriber, and silicon is cooked quartz, which we have plenty of that right now. The printed calculation circuit is with the calculation press and Certus quartz. There's a logic press that uses gold, and there's an engineering press which uses a diamond. First, we need silicon. To get printed silicon, you can only put in one at a time. So manually, this is really a pretty slow process. So we got printed silicon, and let's make a printed logic circuit. And now we have the printed logic circuit, and we have the printed silicon. We just need some redstone. We put those 3 together in here, and we will get our logic processor rather, which we can use to make all sorts of things, including, like I said, this crafting terminal. We also need it for this drive. The ME drive itself is pretty expensive. It's got 2 engineering processors in it, which is diamonds in that same process we just did with the gold. And what's really expensive are these storage cells. So I've got in here a 4K storage cell and a 64K storage cell. Let's look at how to make a 64K storage cell. So that is made with a 64K storage component, which is made with 3 16K storage components plus a calculation processor. Each of those 16K storage components has 3 4K storage components, and each of those 4K storage components has a 1K storage component. So if you do the math, we're going to need 27 of these 1K storage components. So that's 27 logic processors, plus a whole bunch of calculation processors to get ourselves up to a 64K, not to mention the grind that it is to create that thing. If there's any argument for auto crafting, it's creating these 64K storage drives. So I've already done that. I've got a 64K, and I also had a 4K, which I started out with. I've also got a fluid storage cell here, which is similar, except for it holds fluids, obviously. Now, just some things to keep in mind with these storage cells is that while they hold a lot of things, they only hold up to 63 types of things. So if you've got it filled up with a bunch of unique items, you're wasting space. So you're going to need several of these things if you're going to start to store one-off things like unstackable things and so on. And a fluid storage cell only holds 5 types. We've got some fluid in here. We've got some creosote oil from Immersive Engineering. These 12 buckets is using up 9 bytes. So I don't know the actual amount that a bucket takes, but we can store a lot of buckets in here, up to 5 different types of fluids. So you don't really need much bigger than a 1K storage cell, but you can also get all the way up to a 64K storage cell as you're starting to store a lot of fluids. So there's the ME drive, and that's really powerful. Again, those things are pretty expensive. Now, something I want to show you though, is that if you've got some external storage, things like the drawers that I have upstairs, you can connect them to the system with an external, with a storage bus. And I've got a storage bus somewhere. Oh, I've got them right here in my inventory. And the way this works, let's just put a chest. Let's connect this chest. We can do this. So if we run this glass cable over here temporarily, because this is a mess, just run it down here and put a storage bus into this chest. Now this chest just became our inventory, and you can part of the inventory. So you can see here there's 5 lava buckets in here. Where are the lava buckets? They're right here. So if I take these out, just 2 of them. Now there's 3 in here. My eye for lava buckets is really bad. There'll be 3 in here. And if we put them back, they're going to show up in here again. Now there's 5. So this became part of our storage, which is kind of like a 1K. If you do what's 27 times 64, you can store a lot of stuff with a chest. So with these storage buses, you can use really cheap storage to kind of supplement your expensive storage. Now, one thing I wanted to show you here is right above me is the storage controller. Let's go up and take a look. I put my AE setup strategically right below here. This storage controller has access to all these drawers. And so if we put a storage bus on that, which is right here, like this, and we connect it, suddenly we've got all access to all those things in all those storage drawers, which is amazing. So all that effort and resources we spent on making those storage drawers is now getting used here in our system. So now we've got, all that cobbled deep slate is there, and all that stone is there that we didn't have in here before. And these large quantities of things are just being filled into those really inexpensive 1x1 storage drawers. So that's pretty cool. Okay, as you see, we used up all that coal. So we're nearing the end here of this basic setup. There's a couple things I wanted to point out. So here's our Fluix crystal and Certus quartz crystal that grew up. So that's finished. And I wanted to point out, can I get to this thing without power? I can. So we can set the storage bus, and this is important, especially when we're connecting it to something like those storage drawers, is that we can set the priority on this to be higher. So if we increase that to 10, then that has a higher priority over our ME drive storage. This also has priority on it, which is 0. So that means anything that we put in and pull out is going to access this storage bus before our drive. That's important so that if we're putting, cobblestone into our system, it's going to first go into the cobblestone drawer up in our storage system. So priorities are pretty important when you start to mix different external storage buses. Now, you saw how complicated that inscriber was. Not complicated, tedious, I guess. But you can automate that by inserting things with hoppers and pulling things out with hoppers. And so this top of the inscriber can insert on the top. You can insert on this one from the left, right, back, and front, and here from the bottom. Now you can't normally put a hopper into the bottom of something, but with the wrench, we can flip it on its side by just right-clicking with it. So now the top is over here, and the bottom is over here, and we can put a hopper going in here, a hopper going in here, and a hopper going into the back or the front. So we can automate this whole process with hoppers, and we can have a hopper below it pulling stuff out. So we can just fill hoppers and with chests, feeding them with all of those different components and almost automate the whole thing. Later we'll get into full automation with auto crafting and some really cool stuff. Finally, the wrench allows you to really easily right click on these things. You can break any applied Energistics component very easily. You don't have to use a pickaxe or anything. Now I broke this because we're going to go use this storage bus for our final part of the project, which is to provide a computer, a storage computer, to our friends over in the mine colony. Now, just like the storage controller works for these drawers, there's a trick with the warehouse in a mine colony that allows you to put a, look at these guys hiding under the tree. Okay, so we're going to head over to the mine colony. I think we have everything we need. Vibration chamber, crafting terminal, storage bus. Now, this is the kind of basement of their mine colony. And here's the mine colony, which they did a ton of work just in the past week. I wish I could fly to show you this, but it is a fortress style build, and it's pretty complicated. All these buildings, all these individual buildings connect to each other. But we've got, and I think they've got everything up to like level 3 by now. So we've got this mine colony's warehouse, all these racks that have all these things in it. Let's find something we can easily identify. 9 targets and 3 saddles here. And if you've ever played Minecolonies, it's pretty big hassle to find anything in these. Recently, they added a search, so we can find where the TNT is by clicking that question mark, and it highlights. We knew it was over here, I think.
I get to build it again?
Here it is. It highlights the rack that has the TNT in it, which is pretty cool. But still, I have spoiled my family with setting up a applied energistics, or this works with refined storage as well. And I asked them to dig a tunnel right underneath that center block, which is down here. So there's the warehouse block, and we can put a storage bus right on it, the same way we did with our drawer controller. And we run it down here with some cable, and that needs to be powered with a vibration chamber, and we just need a crafting terminal on it. Did I bring coal? I did. And now our crafting terminal shows everything in their warehouse, which is pretty amazing. If you play Minecolonies, this would be really cool to set up. Now, let me give you a few tips. The reason we're putting this below the warehouse is that we can't build in the warehouse until it's fully upgraded, because when they upgrade from 3 to 4, in this case, the builder's going to just destroy everything. They'll put it in storage. You're not going to lose it, but it's kind of a hassle. The second thing is that you probably don't want to integrate this with your main storage. It gets kind of messy, and all these things end up mixing up with your storage. So you could do that. I just like to keep them separate. So you can come here, see what's in your storage, put things into the warehouse here, and the courier can pick it up. Okay, so here we are back in our base. I just wanted to show you one more thing, which is that this is called an ad hoc network, which means it's kind of a sub-network or just a small network. You can only have 8 things connected together on an ad hoc network. To get bigger than that, you need what's called a controller. You need an ME controller, which requires some additional things, which is pretty easy to make. But if you're just going to build a small network, you don't need one. An ME controller allows 8 things connected to each side of it. Now, so as you start to grow your network, you're going to need to get 1 or more controllers. But that's a more advanced thing. What I did want to show you is that there's this Fluix glass cable, which connects things together, just like we've seen. But there's also smart cables. If we connect our system, these smart cables instead, we'll leave that there. Now if we power up our network, a smart cable tells us how many channels are getting used. So they work exactly the same as the Fluix glass cable that we had before, but this just gives you some indication of how many channels are getting used. And then there's only a total of 3 channels getting used in our network here. Now there's more than 3 things. Only things that use channels are things that kind of move things around, like data. So this charger doesn't move anything. So it basically just needs power, and the inscriber just needs power. So these don't use channels. Neither does the vibration chamber. However, the ME drive uses a channel, the crafting terminal uses a channel, and our storage bus uses a channel. So that's why we've got 3 channels being used. So just keep that in mind. If you put too many things on a network that doesn't have a controller in it, if you fill it up more than 8, it's going to stop working. All right, I think that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you have seen the value of applied energistics and that it's not really that hard to do. And if all you do is create a storage system like that, I think it's a huge win. It really helps out, especially connecting it to things like Minecolonies. So that was a pretty cool kind of use of that simple storage from applied energistics. We're going to continue with generating resources. We're going to make like a whole village, I think, of independent resource generation shops. It all kind of, a lot of it starts with that cobble generator down there, because with Create you get a lot of different resources from cobblestone. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like the video if you did, and leave a comment, and we'll see you next time.